Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
So today we're looking at just one single piece of writing, really focusing in.
Yeah, a very specific text.
And it takes us, well, deep into a particular cultural practice in the Amazon. Our aim here is really to pull out the core information, what the text says, and maybe think about what that tells us about human beliefs or fears.
And the source we have, it's this piece describing a practice of the Shuar people.
Right, the Shuar in the Ecuadorian Amazon.
Exactly. That's where the text places them.
And the heart of this deep dive really is this practice the text describes, shrinking human heads.
Specifically, the heads of enemies after they've died. It's presented as their way of dealing with that.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. The text mentions the Shuar are in the Ecuadorian Amazon.
Mm-hmm. And it notes this is a region where head hunting was well known to happen.
What about the why, though? Why do this? Does the text give a reason?
It does, and it's pretty fascinating, actually. The
Yeah.
writing suggests the motivation was fear. Yeah, fear that the spirit of the dead enemy, the Muzak spirit as it's sometimes known elsewhere, might come back seeking revenge.
Okay. So it's deeply rooted in their spiritual beliefs, according to this source.
That's how it's presented, yes. It connects directly to their ideas about life, death, and what happens after.
And the process itself, the text goes into detail, right?
It does lay out some steps. It mentions removing the skull first,
Okay.
and also the eyes and tongue.
Wow. Pretty graphic details. Then what?
Then, according to the text, the head was boiled.
Boil,
And after boiling, it was dried out in the sun.
which would shrink it, presumably.
Exactly. That seems to be the physical mechanism described. There's another step mentioned.
Oh,
The writing says it was then filled with earth.
filled with earth. Why? Does it say?
It doesn't explicitly state why
Yeah.
in the snippet we have, but you could infer, perhaps, it relates back to that fear containing the head.
Containing the spirit, kind of trapping it.
That could be one interpretation based on the motivation given earlier. Yeah. This idea of neutralizing the threat, spiritually and physically.
Right. And the final size. Is there a comparison made?
Yeah, the text compares the final shrunken head to a multa.
A multa. Not a term everyone might know, like maybe a small orange or something. A small, roundish object.
Something like that, yeah. A small condensed size. It certainly paints a vivid picture.
It really does. Now, stepping back a little, how does the writer of this piece frame all this? What's their perspective?
Well, the text characterizes the Amazon jungle generally as being inhabited by wild and magical tribes. That phrasing itself tells you something.
Sets a certain tone.
Definitely. And the Shuar practices, like the head shrinking, are presented almost as evidence of this wildness, creating a contrast with, the presumed values or norms of the writer's own culture.
So it's important for us and for you listening to remember that we're seeing this through the lens of this particular author or source.
Absolutely. The description comes with its own viewpoint, its own way of framing things.
And look, reading about something like head shrinking, it's understandable if it feels shocking or maybe disturbing.
Of course. It's a visceral practice described here.
But working with the text we have, the goal is to try and understand the practice as it's presented within the cultural context the source itself provides, focusing on that stated fear of the spirit.
Right. If we sort of tie this together, this single account gives us a window, however specific, into a worldview where spirits are powerful and where specific rituals were developed to manage the dangers perceived from the dead.
It really highlights how intense the relationship with death in the afterlife can be and the lengths people might go to navigate those fears.
The whole process described, the boiling, the drying, the filling with earth, it all points towards a very deliberate attempt to control something seen as a potent spiritual force.
So, wrapping up our deep dive here, we've explored this description of the Shuar tribe's head-shrinking practice from the Ecuadorian Amazon.
Based purely on this one piece of writing.
Right, and the key elements seem to be this profound fear of vengeful spirits.
Leading to this elaborate multi-step process described in the text, aimed at shrinking and perhaps neutralizing the deceased enemy's head.
So, a final thought to leave you with. How do different cultures end up creating such unique and sometimes, let's face it, startling ways to make sense of fundamental things like life, death, and the spirit world?
Yeah, this brief look through the specific text at just one practice really underscores that incredible diversity of human belief and ritual across the globe. What does this single snapshot suggest to you about that vast tapestry?